Linda Nakale. She's been called away on a ministerial engagement, and she sends her deepest apologies for not being able to attend. So please, apologies for that. So we will move on to the next speaker. So some leaders are shaped by position, others are shaped by purpose. Our next speaker is a leader whose journey reflects consistency, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Over the years, she has grown alongside the organization she serves, contributing to its evolution through insight, integrity, and a deep understanding of the communications landscape. Her leadership is grounded in service, driven by a desire to see policy work for people, community strengthened through access and systems built to support innovation and growth. She's known for leading with both compassion and clarity. She balances empathy with firm decision-making, creating space for progress while uplifting or upholding high standards of governance. In times of change and uncertainty, she brings steady leadership, fresh perspective, and the courage to move the sector forward. We are honored today to welcome Mrs. Emilia Nghikembua, the CEO of Ghana.
Good morning. Am I audible? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. I would really like to appreciate Sonia and your team and all the wonderful ladies for this honor. I always say whenever I'm requested to speak, I consider it as an absolute honor, because speaking into people's lives, speaking into people's destinies is not a light task. Secondly, when I received the invitation, I was requested to speak on a title that says She Builds the Rules of the Road. And then there was another part about smart regulation and a digital Namibia. And for a while I contemplated, because I said to myself, the first part is a leadership conversation, but the second part is a technical conversation. And yesterday I spoke to one of the ladies from SALT, and she says, drop the technicalities, speak to us about the leadership. And that is exactly what I would like to do today. Thirdly, and really by way of introduction, I would like to say I always consider myself as a wounded healer, in the sense that I do not share that which I have not experienced myself. I will not speak to you about textbook things. I will share actual realities that I've experienced on my journey. Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, for your humble words. I think as she was talking, I did not realize it's me she was describing. I was waiting for somebody else, but thank you. I'm so humbled. So let us get started. By way of introduction, I'm going to speak to you about the fact that the technology landscape remains largely male-centric. I will speak to you about the barriers that exist in this industry, some of which are by design, but others are by default. I'll speak to you about the possibilities, the fact that as women, we not only belong, but we can and we do thrive in the technology space. I will also speak to you about understanding that success begins with understanding the rules of the game, understanding the rules of the road that you are on. And then finally, I'll speak to you about the fact that success is not an event. It's not a once-off thing that you achieve and then it's done. It's actually a journey. And I think, this is why I think it's so befitting that we're talking about the rules of the road, because you are on a journey and you don't reach one point and say, now I have made it. You need to keep going. So I think it is important that you get to understand the space that you are stepping into. If you are already in this space, and I think most of you are already here, you need to take time and reflect and understand the landscape that you are operating in. This is important because leadership is very much about awareness. And if you are not aware, you would not know. And if you do not know, your journey will be terribly difficult. I think there's a Bible verse that says, people perish for a lack of knowledge. So if you don't have knowledge in your leadership journey, you would perish. I want us to also understand that the landscape that we are operating in is a male-dominated landscape. It's the reality, and I like what the speaker from UNESCO spoke about, that 30% of the tech workforce is male, is female, which means the rest is male. And for us in Namibia, it's no different, right? So if I were, for instance, to call for a meeting with all CEOs for technology companies in this country, it will probably just be Sonia and I that will be women. The rest are men. If you called for chief technology officers, a lot of them would be men. It will probably only be Monica from MTC. If you called for your chief commercial officers, the room would still be full of men. Therefore, it is important to understand that this space is very much male dominated. It is also important to understand that this type of dominion is not something that just happened now. It goes back. If you studied philosophy, your principles on patriarchy and male dominance and all of that would have also evolved into this particular field. And part of it is also contributed by the low participation of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I think once again, UNESCO would have shared that there's only a 35% women participation in this field. And that lack of participation has a ripple effect when you move into the leadership roles. It's also important to understand that this low participation has led to fewer women voices around the table. It has led to fewer perspectives as far as our participation is concerned. It has even led to fewer solutions. And I'm so glad, it's like UNESCO gave a very good background to everything that I'm going to say. Those effects that she spoke about would obviously lead to that. But what is also important for us to understand is that much as all of this is structural, it's also not permanent, right? It's historical, it's philosophical, it has its basis in the way leadership has evolved, the way governments are structured, the way institutions are structured, and that makes it structural. But it also means that it is not, it's not permanent. Now, I want us to also understand that having this understanding of male dominance should actually prepare us as women, not only mentally, but also strategically and emotionally, in order for us to be able to participate. And what I will do with the rest of the slides is to speak to you about how do you participate? How do you become effective in a space that is actually not created for you? But I want you to understand that the truth is, I'm not here to motivate you, right? Because a lot of people are always about, come motivate, do this motivational talk. I'm not here to motivate you. I am here to reposition you. Because motivation is very superficial, right? Motivation will last you until 5 o'clock. At 2, we'll finish here, you'll go to the office, you'll talk to your colleagues about what the current CEO said, and by 5 o'clock you have forgotten. So I'm not here to motivate you. This conversation is about positioning you. I also want us to understand that it's the conversation should not be, oh, it's another bunch of ladies in a room feeling sorry for ourselves. This is not happening. That is not what this conversation is about. The conversation should be about understanding the environment that we are operating in and learning how to move through it with intention. Because if you're intentional, then you get to succeed. Now, let's talk about the barriers, right? So, as women, I think there is a lot of barriers that we need to deal with and that we need to overcome as we move along on this journey. The first thing we need to understand is that we have self-imposed barriers. Before you even deal with anything else, self-imposed. You have gone to school, you have a degree, you have a master's degree, you have all the competencies, but you lack the self-confidence to show up properly, to show up effectively, and to project yourself properly in the spaces that you are operating in. When you speak, people don't know if you were forced, you have flu, you are uncomfortable. We don't know. So it has to start with the self. It's about when you walk, how do you walk? You're coming for an interview. When you enter that room, what energy are you projecting? So you need to start with the self, because if you don't overcome those barriers of I'm not good enough, ooh, and then you get into the lobby, you find Sonia is also there waiting to be interviewed, and then composure is already -10 because you are worried about her. It's a confidence issue. And half the time, that is the biggest barrier that we have. And it also comes with a social orientation. How are you socially oriented? Because that speaks a lot to how you position yourself. And then we have cultural and societal barriers. Some of us would come from cultures where they say women cannot lead, or women cannot be CEOs. CEOs must be old men. Sometimes, somebody had even said to me, no, you cannot become such a high-profile leader at such a young age. What will you do by the time you are 50? It's that type of orientation. Communities are a big problem sometimes, because then you are trying to do something, you're trying to project yourself, to elevate yourself, and then you're told you're moving too fast. What will the neighbors say? All of that hush, hush, hush. Sometimes it is good because it's a basic differentiation between right and wrong, good and bad ethics. But sometimes it's the community passing on to you barriers that have moved from generation to generation until they've caught up with you. And if you don't have the ability to break yourself out of those, then you just become another statistic in that particular system. The other barriers could be systemic barriers, processes, organizational frameworks. It was not designed with a woman in mind. It wasn't. Last year, I'm sure some of you would have seen it. there was a storm in the media, and I hope there are no journalists here. There was a storm in the media about Crane has a job advert for a network or system specialist, some IT job, specialist something, and it was a women-only advert, right? And we put it out there and we said, we are looking only for a woman. And there was such a big storm. Analysts are saying Crane is discriminatory. Analysts are saying this and this and this. And somebody even called me and said, this thing that you're doing is not correct. Pull the advert. And I said, no, we're not going to pull the advert. Do you know why? Because when we look at, and we have we are overly a technology company, but we have two departments where we hire STEM skills. We have our ICT department, which does our in-house IT, and then we have our cybersecurity department, which does the national cybersecurity posture. And when we look at those stats, 95% of the employees in those two departments combined were men. And this is why we said we're being deliberate. We're looking for a woman. But the storm came. But do you know why the storm came? The storm came because of systemic barriers. Because organizationally, processes, frameworks are not designed for this type of thing. And if we're going to lead, then we need to lead with great conviction to break those barriers. And by the way, we did hire a lady. I won't put her on the spot, but she's here. And sometimes those of us in leadership, that's how unpopular we need to become in order to break the cycle, in order to break the system, right? Because I said, not only is what we are doing legal, it's just not common, but it's not common because the system is not built for us to participate. And this is why I say that these barriers are either by design or by default. And even when you have laws like affirmative action and employment equity, which by the way backed the decision that we took, you will still find people who deny the implementation of those new frameworks that are meant to bring us to the table. But the truth of the matter is that the system will not suddenly change to include you. You need to say this to your neighbor. Say, neighbor, the system will not suddenly change to include you. It won't change. It requires somebody that is bold to push the door open. Because if we had not stood our ground, this very competent lady, and she's so competent, would not be having a seat at the table at the moment. You know why? Because we would have because we were told, withdraw the advert, do that, we would have withdrawn. And then apparently, oh yes, let me talk about this. And then apparently what we need to say is, we must make the advert open and then say women and persons with disabilities are strongly encouraged to apply. Right? Now that statement for me is a scam, because I said, if what I know is that I'm looking for a woman, if what I know is that I have a need in the organization, my demographics are skewed as far as my STEM skills are concerned. Why must I go out and say they are encouraged to apply? They shouldn't be encouraged to apply. They must apply, and this advert is exclusively for them. So we need to understand that the system will not suddenly change to include you. Okay? But here is the good news. The good news is that we as women we have the ability to thrive in any space. We can thrive. We have that ability. But we also need to understand that our thriving will only happen if we are intentional about our growth, about the efforts that we put in, and about how we reposition ourselves to effectively thrive. It is important. And here is another truth. No one, ladies, and I mean no one, will give you a job simply because you are a woman. It's not going to happen. Yes, there are opportunities. Yes, they will encourage you to apply. Yes, some of us will break the barriers and allow you to put your best foot forward. But when that door is opened for you, now everything is in your hands. And if when you step in, you don't step in properly, there is nothing you can do. So even with the lady that I'm talking about, she had to compete. She had to compete effectively. She shouldn't come there to the interview very relaxed simply because, oh, now the advert is saying women only, right? And this is why I always tell people that excellence is not about being different. Excellence is about being prepared. Are you prepared? Because even when the door is open for you, there'll be 5 or 4 other women that you have to go head to head with. But are you prepared? You need to commit yourself to continuous learning and mastery. And when I speak about continuous learning, and I'm glad that some of my colleagues are here, it's not always about another honors degree, another master's, another, I have never seen a generation as educated as the generation that we currently have. I have not seen it. And Lisa is here. Good morning, Lisa. She deals with this. I'm sure she can contradict me if it's not true. But it's such an educated generation. But do you know why we still sometimes say we don't have the skills? Because this educated generation struggles to set itself apart. It struggles to break out of the master's degree and all of this. And you would see it even when the team is performing and all of that. When you are inside, it's no longer about your qualification. The qualification is a minimum requirement for you to get through the door. But once you have gotten through the door, it's a different world. And it requires a different you, not the you that was studying for an honors degree. Yes, you are qualified. But now that you are qualified, how are you setting yourself apart? How are you committing yourself? And I tell you, as women, the pressure is even higher. The pressure is higher. Because remember the barriers. And I forgot to speak about one of the barriers. It already said, yeah, but if you hire a woman, are they even competent? Like, can they even do this job? You understand? So the pressure is even higher. So it's about mastery. How do you master this subject matter? And I always challenge my team. I say, look, we will have many promotions in this organization, but you need to put pressure on me to promote you. You must put pressure on me to promote you. And it starts with small things. If you're asked to do a presentation at a staff meeting, how do you show up? If you're asked to come and do a talk like this, I had to prepare for 8 hours. 8 hours of reading, and I'm one of those that I would record my presentation, and as I drive, I'm listening to myself and I'm saying, no, here, don't say that, don't do that. Yes, I need to prepare. It's about mastery. This morning, my husband said, "Are you going to church? Why are you dressed like that?" I said, I need to show up properly. So it's about that level of mastery. And then it's also about understanding that when you master whatever it is that you're doing, and when you rise with purpose, then inherently you give other people permission to rise. Some people are so good, so talented, but they are just doing this. I don't know. But when they see, oh, look at what Emilia has done, they're like, oh, it's actually possible. Yeah. The same Emilia that I grew up with, oh, it's possible. Let me put myself out there as well. And this is why I said that when I started, I said, I don't take it lightly when I have to engage like this. It's serious business because you're speaking into people's destinies. And even if it's just one of you that goes and says, you know what, that strike a chord, it is enough. But when we rise, we must rise with purpose. We must rise with responsibility. And we must show up properly because we give other people permission to do so. Now, on this journey, you need to understand that as you move along, you are on a path to greatness. But what are those things that you need to do for yourself? The first thing is you need to clarify your vision. Because the honest truth is, you cannot become that which you have not properly conceived. You can't. You need to ask yourself, why am I here? What is it that I was created to do? What is it that I need to achieve in this life? What are you called to do? Because if you're not clear about that, when you come from this network meeting, you have seen Emilia has spoken. Or when you go home, oh, I want to be like Emilia. How do I become a CEO? Yeah? Or when you see Donata has spoken, oh, how do I become a chief technology officer? Right? Because you are not focused. You are not clear on what it is that you want to do. And a lot of times, I see people when you ask them, what is your purpose? Or what is your vision in life? What do you want to become? Then people say, I want to be a manager IT. I want to be a cybersecurity specialist. That is not your purpose, right? I always tell people it is such a great honor for me for all the positions that I have received in my life. But those positions are not my purpose. They are not. My purpose is transformation. My purpose is to move people from point A to point B. Being CEO is a platform that allows me to do that. But if tomorrow I'm not CEO, then what then? Right? That's why your purpose needs to be so much bigger than the position. You need to also know the reality. And I've spoken about this earlier, and I said no one, and I mean absolutely no one, will give you a job simply because you are a woman. I love Her Excellency, our president, so much. And I know a lot of people keep saying, women president, this and that and that. And don't get me wrong, the fact that we have a woman president is a great milestone from an equity and an equality perspective. We know the history, we know the demographics. But I think what a lot of people also fail to do and to understand is that she didn't become president because she's a woman. Yeah. She didn't. She became president because she prepared. She prepared herself into excellence. And this is why when she stood up and she said, I'm going to run for president, she didn't say, because I am a woman, vote for me. No. She said, I'm a diplomat. I was a deputy prime minister. I was a minister for this. I was a minister for this. And this is what I stand for. She prepared. And that's why when she put her best foot forward, nobody could challenge her. When she says, I believe in integrity and good ethics, no one could come and bring an ounce of evidence and say, Madam President, you may be saying this, but look at what you did in 2000. And nobody. Why? Because she was intentional. She prepared. She knew the reality of the environment that she's operating in. She understood what was at stake, and she prepared effectively for that. So you need to know your reality. And the reality is, it's either you are competing against a man, you are competing against another woman, but no one will ever give you that job. Because even when you apply affirmative action only favors you when what? You have met the requirements. If the job is saying you need a master's in cybersecurity and all you have is your honors degree, affirmative action will not speak for you. So know the reality. And then most importantly is you need to build resilience. You are entering a space that is designed to keep you out. So you need to be highly resilient. Sometimes it's not even about the subject matter you are discussing. Just the fact that you are a woman or the fact that you are just you have resistance. So you need to build a thick skin. You need to have a positive and realistic outlook. Because there are times where you come from a meeting and you are battered so badly. You just want to resign. You don't want to continue. It's that bad sometimes. But the question is, how do you bounce back? How do you allow yourself not to meditate on the negativity that is projected to you? But most importantly also, how do you reposition yourself to analyze this feedback that you have received so that you either learn from it or that you don't allow it to pull you down? I like to tell myself, sometimes I'll say, it's a bad day. You're not a bad CEO. It's just a bad day. It's just a bad day. So you need to have that mental resilience, because it's a very rough space that you need to work in sometimes. And you need to be persistent, because sometimes it just feels like you are banging your head in a wall and nothing is coming forth. And you need to be able to take a step back, reflect, analyze the situation, and then see how you can move on. You must be able to do the work. Half the time, no one believes that you're capable to do the work that you're doing. I had that personal experience. They're like, oh, she's CEO. Okay, let's see. Let us see. There'll be a lot of naysayers, but there will also be a lot of people that encourage you. And for both their sakes, you need to do your work and you need to show up properly. When I say I prepped 8 hours for this talk, I'm not lying to you. I was on a flight, I was sitting and I'm reading about building roads and I'm analyzing things and I'm going up and down. Eventually I put my slides together, I go through them, I cut, I do this, I do that. You must be able to do the work. And when you show up properly. Show up with grace, show up with knowledge, show up with wisdom. Because what I have come to realize is that the fact that you are a woman you already have barriers. When they see a woman coming from there, the barriers are already evident. But when you sit at the table and you start to talk, if what comes out of your mouth is of good quality, then they forget that you are a woman. And you must build that track record. They must know that whenever she speaks, it's great stuff that comes from her. And there's this saying where they say what? I see it on social media. I think they said what? When you are not in the rooms, what? Something about your name must speak for you in rooms that you are not in, right? Yes. Now, my dear friends, your name will not speak for you if there is no credibility, if there is no momentum behind that name. It won't. You need to be memorable. I was telling my team, we had a staff meeting not so long ago, and I was telling my team, and I said, excellence is like a good perfume. If you are excellent, you know a good perfume, if you are wearing a good perfume and you leave an elevator, the next person that comes, yeah? Excellence is like a good aroma. If you are excellent, people will always be, where's Sonia? Where's Donata? Where's Lisa? Where's Emilia? People will look for you because you are excellent. But to be excellent, you need to be bold. You need to study. You need to learn. You need to build. You need to sweat. Sometimes you need to cry. Because it's so painful. Yes, sometimes we do cry because it's so painful. You sit in that office and you're just like, what is this? Yes. But that is the price. Find your champions. Find someone who believes in you and someone who champions your becoming. And I always say, people always say, who's your mentor? Who's your what? And it's great. But I don't believe in one mentor. Amen. For me, if I sit down at this table and she has a chat with me and I find out, oh, maybe she's from Microsoft. Oh, what is happening at Microsoft? What is this and this and this? When I go home, I will reflect and I'll say, man, that lady from Microsoft, she shared this and this and this. I wonder if I applied it. What does it mean? I've been mentored. I've been mentored. But sometimes we think we must have the same person, you go back, which is good. I'm not even downplaying that. It's good. But I think be robust in how you learn. Be robust in how you grow. It is very, very important. I'm moving to the end. So as I conclude, I want us to remember that one of the biggest rules that you must remember about this road or this journey that we are on is that the road may not have been built for you, or it may not have been built for us as women, but we do have the ability to pursue this journey, to pursue it effectively, and to pursue it with excellence. Know the landscape, understand that the landscape is male dominated, but that must not allow you to back down. It must actually build up a momentum in you. It must build up a whole lot of conviction and resilience. Clarity is important. Clarity of vision, clarity of purpose. Be intentional. Don't personalize the barriers. Move with such a great aroma of excellence that you put pressure on those in power to favor you. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We see it. And the only thing that you need to sustain this journey is resilience. Be so resilient about your dreams. You will experience challenges, you will experience victories, but all in all, be resilient. I truly believe that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. But I'd like to qualify that also to say, and those who are intentional about achieving those dreams. Thank you for showing up, for being courageous, and for being ready to continue the leadership journey in the technology landscape. And I thank you very much.